Good afternoon, everyone. I am here with the lovely Mandy Salas. Thank you for being here. Okay, so at the age of 16, Mandy was a nationally ranked soccer player getting ready to submit college applications and embark into the next very exciting stage of her life where all her dreams and aspirations would start to come true. Then, while traveling overseas, a tragic car accident rendered her quadriplegic and sent all those plans into limbo. So sorry that happened to you. Now, 30 years later, she can reflect and demonstrate how she has been able to still realize those dreams and much more. She graduated with her high school class. She then attended Stanford University and graduated with a degree in international relations. She moved straight from Stanford to Los Angeles with the hope of working in television production and ultimately lived that ongoing dream for close to 15 years. That's fantastic. Her next dream was a big one, not too big for a dreamer like Mandy, though. So finding a partner and having not one, but two beautiful and healthy children from conceiving to carrying to birthing and now rearing was the next dream on her list that she was able to accomplish. Aside from that rewarding job, she also helps her husband run a successful catering business. Mandy is currently writing a memoir and also speaks to groups, large and small, to share her stories and insights of resilience in the face of adversity. She tells her stories in a fun and engaging way so that any audience can relate. And we'll share her contact info with you at the end. And Mandy will be speaking to us about unstoppable resilience, conquering adversity by shifting mindset. And if there's anybody here that could be talking to us about this topic, it's absolutely you, Mandy. Like, I had tears in my eyes reading that. It was very unfortunate that you had that accident so long ago, but oh my goodness, you have something to teach us about resilience and accomplishment. And I know another unstoppable person as well who calls himself unstoppable. So I just love it. You are definitely the epitome of that. And I can't wait to hear from you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you. So let's go start our questions here. So you were a star athlete with your sights set on college and continuing your athletic career when you got in the accident that left you a quadriplegic. At 16 years old, how did you handle such a life-shattering event?
I really think that there's a couple things for sure that that athletic mindset that I had, the kind of never give up and the underdog can always come through, even if you're losing 9-0, keep fighting. I think that was really strong in me from having that athletic background. And I also just felt like I could do anything. I was 16, so I was, naive enough maybe, but had that sort of dream of being able to do anything I put my mind to. So for me, I think it kind of protected me that I felt like I could stay positive, stay strong, and figure out a way to move my body again, even though the doctor said I couldn't. I was like, I'm going to do this whether you say I can or I can't. And uh, and I think that really kept me hopeful and helped me keep a positive outlook on everything. I was just going to do big things, even if they didn't expect it from me.
Well, listen, you have the fight in you and you've had the fight in you. So it's fantastic that you did because, life could have been very different and it turned out quite well for you. So I'm very happy for that.
Thank
Um,
you.
so you mentioned that you focused on keeping your mindset pointed in a positive direction that can be easier said than done. Can you provide some insights into how you did that?
Yeah, so there was the accident, of course, was devastating. I also had a couple of super tragic events happen while I was still in the hospital. So, my accident happened while I was living overseas in Argentina with a host family, and there were six of us in the car. So, when I got home from like air evacuated back to the United States, I found out that my host mom didn't survive the crash. They were trying to protect me, so they didn't tell me right away. But then also, a few weeks later, my stepdad, who had been in my life for 13 years at that point, got into his own car accident and was also killed. So while I'm in the hospital, obviously dealing with this with my family as well, all of us were just getting pounded. So it was definitely challenging to stay positive, but there was something, especially after my stepdad died, that I thought, okay, the universe is trying to tell me something. I'm here for a reason. I could have left just like my host mom did very easily, but I'm still here. So, what do I need to learn from these things? Because if I learn from them, then I can be better on the other side. And really, one of those things was that life is short. Anything could happen to us at any minute. Even this accident happened to me, something else could happen to me again at any minute. So we have to do everything we can with what we have at all times, but also um, the consciously focusing on the good things. So not only the people that are still left in our lives, because they can also go at any time, but the if you focus on the bad things, they will take over. Whatever you focus on is going to get bigger. So if you focus on the good things, that will get bigger. So a lot of the things that I really tried to focus on while I was in the hospital was what I was going to do when I got out. I knew I wasn't going to be in there forever. I knew that eventually I would be able to breathe on my own, which was really the marker for when they were going to let me out. It took 8 months, so I was in the hospital for 8 months, but I knew that there would still be big things coming for me, like going to school or having a career. There's obviously things that I couldn't do anymore, but I was still on a mission to move my body again, to get stuff back. But even if it didn't come, I was going to do everything I could with what I had.
And thank goodness, like it really takes a strong person. And I guess we really never know until we're in that situation. Hopefully we're not, but we really don't know how we're going to react or go forward until we're put in that situation. We can say whatever we want, but until something like that happens, we really don't know. So, I just look up to you as, it's so powerful, so, unreal to be able to conquer such a great challenge that you were facing, and everything that was going on around you at the time. Like, I just can't imagine. And so I really look up to you in what you've been able to accomplish and go forward and living your positive life.
Thank you. I do. I appreciate that. And it really is, the what we can, all right. So we can't control those things that happen to us. As humans, bad things to happen to all of us. We all have struggles. So it's just a matter of trying to use that brain power to be like, okay, I can really focus on a different part of this and make it a more positive experience, as bad as it can be. If there's always, something you can find that can keep you going, that's on the positive side.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm sorry to hear about the other losses that happened around you at the time. Okay, you said you were determined to walk again. So I wonder, was there a moment when you realized that you might not walk again? And what was that like for you? Did such a realization at any time sink you into a depression?
So no, it did not. I would say that I really did wholeheartedly believe that I was going to walk again, or at least move my arms or my legs in a way to where maybe I wasn't running on the soccer field anymore, but still be more of a functional body. And when I didn't, so I spent a few years while I was going to school at Stanford. I was looking for different therapy places, and I found one that was in New Jersey. So I moved to New Jersey for a year and a half and worked really hard and thought, I'm leaving my chair here and then I'm going back home. And it didn't work. And I was shocked. But at the same time, it was time to again sort of step back, think about, okay, what do I really want? Because I could have stayed at that therapy center. Maybe if I stayed there for 7 years, maybe I would have actually moved something. But I didn't want, I feel like there was still that voice in the back of my head that said, life is short. What else do you want to do? Do you want to spend all your time here? Who knows what could happen tomorrow? So I decided to go back, finish school, and start working. There's always going to be this, mission of mine to move again. It didn't completely give it up. I've sort of maybe put it more into the scientists' hands now, but there's still a hope there that something will happen one day. But until then, I'm going to do everything I can with what I have, like I said before. But at that time, it was, going to get a job, finish my career, live my life kind of alongside my peers that were, the same age and doing the same things. And then eventually that meant having a family, finding a mate and having a family.
Thank you. Again, a strong person. So you've accomplished a lot in your life, graduating from Stanford, having a long, successful career in television, and then raising a family. So many people assume that an accident like this would stop anyone in their tracks. But it seems like your accident lit a fire under you instead. Can you explain where that thirst for success comes from and how you keep it going so strong?
Well, I definitely need to give credit to my parents. I started out, my 16-year-old self was very ambitious and worked very hard. I was a straight A student. I was a three-sport varsity athlete. I was pushing for everything. Even just the adventure of going on this language immersion program was to have it look better on my college applications. So my mom was a saleswoman. My dad is still a lawyer, well, just retired. And they always just really set the bar high for me and my siblings. And I like to say I set it higher. I was always just trying to push for more and more. So then when this happened, again, having those unfortunate and super devastating extra experiences of the two people that we lost in the middle of this, that taught me that life was really short, kept me going even harder. But also, there's a little story too that I visualized when I was in the hospital. I had a friend of my mom come visit who had attempted to swim the English Channel twice, and she didn't make it. And she was coming to give me a pep talk about how to always keep going, never give up. I did learn later that she finally swam the English Channel a couple of years after she came to visit. But what I envisioned that night in my hospital bed was that I was on a very similar mission, that I was just going to keep swimming, not let anything bring me under the surface of the water because, I could have easily crumbled in all of the despair around me. And if I let myself sink under the water, it would be that much harder to find the surface. If I ever found it again, I may have gotten lost. So I just told myself, you're doing the same thing. It's like you're swimming a huge body of water. You just have to get to the other side. So it's, sometimes it's moving forward Sometimes you have to flip over on your back and just take some breaths and feel the sunshine, and then flip over and keep swimming when you're ready. But eventually you get to the other side, whether you even knew that you were halfway there or not. So things like that are tools that I still use today to just keep moving forward, just keep looking for the things that will make you happy and go after them. And I think a big part of today's world that's difficult is being able to sit with yourself in quiet, without all of the media distractions and easily picking up your phone and scrolling through it. I mean, I always joke that that's a blessing of my injury, that I can't just scroll aimlessly through my phone. So it gives me those times to sit with myself and be like, okay, I think I want this next. How am I going to make this happen? So with all of those things combined, I think that the drive, that I was born with, that came from my parents, has always pushed me. But all of these things that have happened have just made me want to push for more and more to see how much I can get done in this lifetime.
And that's fantastic. And it's probably a really integral part of your success today, is because you already had that drive in you, and you were able to feed off of that and continue that regardless what adversity popped up, right?
Definitely,
And
definitely.
yeah, and so it's pretty awesome that you already had that in you. So what was it like to be a quadriplegic television producer? Did people approach you differently in the workplace? And what about being a quadriplegic mom, or even helping your husband run his catering business? Like, we want to know.
I mean, being a producer, at first I didn't, I didn't just start being a producer. I had to learn a lot of the ropes. And so it was all really about finding those people that saw the ambition in me and saw the potential in me. And obviously, there's plenty of things that I can do, as an administrator and as a coordinator that are really needed in a world like television production, like anything. But television production is all about coordinating people. So I was good at that, and people trusted me. So I was able to climb up pretty quickly in the rankings. It was always interesting first meeting people because they just don't expect to see a wheelchair on set, which I understand there's not many of us. But then once they would have a conversation with me or see that, people were coming up to me to ask me questions and that I was producing and administering things, then, they would just kind of fall in line and be like, okay, I see how this is working. Let's do this. And that's been a similar thing, as a parent or even as helping my husband run his business. He's a chef, and so he does the actual physical work. I'm not going to be the chef, but there's obviously plenty of things that I can do to support him. So it's a similar thing. When people first talk on the phone with me, they're not going to assume that I can't move my arms, but then when they see that I can't, they're like, "Oh wow, like we've had a lot of conversations and you've accomplished a lot, and I just wouldn't have put it all together this way." So it's sort of a journey that everybody goes on. Just being a friend or a coworker or anything, that they just sort of accept it all and kind of go on the adventure with me. So it's all about finding those people, which there's a lot of them out there. So that's good. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's those are big questions that people would really be curious about, right? So you could have found a lot of pushback, right? And maybe
Definitely.
you did, right? Maybe you did find some pushback there.
Yeah, mostly it was good. Again, I had sort of the people that were higher up than me that hired me, that were sort of my protectors in a way. They would be like, yeah, this is Mandy, she's doing this and she's our executive and you're going to listen to her, So in those ways I had them as sort of buffers. to where, I didn't have to go into many situations without them first. So yeah, I didn't really actually find too much pushback. Who knows what people thought when they first would meet me, but they didn't. Well, like I said, eventually everybody would kind of come around and understand how it all worked.
Yeah, and I think it's really super important. Um, anybody with some sort of uh, disability or challenge or anything that they're facing, you need advocates, you need people that believe in you
Definitely.
and see past whatever's going on in order to say, no, there's skills here, right? There may not
Absolutely.
be the physical body, or there may not be total mental capacity with some people, right? Not with you, but with others. But looking at what the strengths are and building on those strengths. And especially 30 years ago, it really took special people to be in that space because it wasn't the norm, right?
Right. Right.
So you were also fighting against, what wasn't generally acceptable, I would
Definitely.
say. Yeah.
Definitely. And again,
Yeah.
it was a nice surprise maybe, but it was a nice realization that, yeah, for the most part, there was no pushback, and people came right together with everything.
Well, you had good people, and that's really important. So thank you. So what's next for you?
So yes, as you mentioned in my bio, I decided to start a speaking career. So it's my third career if you include children, and I am working on memoir with a very good friend of mine. She actually quit her job to help get through all this work because it's so much work. I knew it would be emotional work, but just the time that it takes is crazy. So we're working on that together. We're almost done. And now, yeah, my kids are 8 and 11. So they're getting to that self-sufficient age. So I can go launch these two new careers, I guess, with the writing and the speaking and see where that takes me.
That's fantastic. Okay, that's great. And when you say speaking career, you want to travel for this? You want to do it virtually? What do you want to do?
I would love to do both. I have family and friends. I still have really good friends in Argentina. I have family in Europe. I am used to traveling. I love to travel, so I would be open to traveling also. Virtual is great, but it'd be nice to see people in person also.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So what advice would you give anyone watching this who is now starting a new big venture?
Exciting. I would say to keep yourself consciously focused. So, really, the big thing is being able to change any typical patterns of perception that are sending you in the wrong direction, not the positive direction. So, focus yourself into the positive direction. Find the things that are good in your life, sit with yourself, take some time, figure out what you want, and then you'll automatically know what it's going to take to go after those things. So I think those are my biggest things. The taking the time to sort of know yourself and know where you want to go, and then being able to consciously figure out how to put yourself in the right mindset to figure out how to make it work and to be happy about it and excited.
Love it. Love it. So how can people contact you?
So I that's just mandysalas.com, and it has all my social media handles on it. But I'm Mandy Salas on most things. So Instagram is im.mandysalas, Facebook is just Mandy Salas, and LinkedIn is just Mandy Salas.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, it's really been a pleasure to chat with you today, and I wish you so much luck in your career, your new career, which I know you're gonna kill it. So
Thank
it's
you.
gonna be awesome. And
Mhm.
thank you for sharing with us here.
Absolutely.